7 years after two teenage girls were brutally murdered on a hiking trail near Delphi, Indiana, the victims' families may finally get some answers later today on when the trial could actually begin. Suspect Richard Allen is expected to be in court for two separate hearings today. He has pleaded not guilty to two murder charges in connection to the deaths of 13-year-old Abigail Williams and 14-year-old Liberty German. But today's ruling could have a big impact on when that murder trial will begin. Joining me now is Andrew Iden, host and producer for the hit podcast series Down the Hill. Andrew, it's so good to have you. I got to say, I've listened to a lot of podcasts, and yours has stuck with me more than any other one I've ever listened to. I mean, so well done, so haunting. I'm curious, will you be in court today?
I will not. But I would like everybody that's closely watching this case, I will be obviously have eyes and ears on everything that unfolds there. Through everybody.
It has garnered so much, worldwide attention. And this, by the way, too, for viewers, this will be the first time that Richard Allen is expected, in that courtroom. Two different hearings, morning session, afternoon session. What do you think will be presented to that judge, and what are you expecting?
Well, I think, obviously that first hearing is really actually not even about Richard Allen at all. It's about the attorneys, Andrew Baldwin and Brad Rosie, who are representing Richard Allen. And it's really about that issue of whether they are being held or whether they are in contempt of court. Nick McClellan, the prosecutor in this case, is going to make the argument that these two attorneys violated the gag order when they declared their client's innocence in December of 22 through a press release. And one of the other items at play here is obviously the 2023 evidence leak, when pictures of the crime scene, as everything does at this point in this case, managed to make its way onto social media. So that's really what's at stake here in the first hearing. And if those two attorneys stay on the case, I think that, things are probably going to move full speed ahead to that trial that's set for May. Obviously, if they are taken off the case, that kind of resets that 70-day clock, and we'll kind of move backwards and see where we go from there.
Yeah. You've obviously been embedded in this story from the beginning. What have the families shared with you ahead of today, Andrew?
I think, honestly, the families are, at this point, they're 7 years into this, and I think that they are essentially, at this point, they are used to these twists and turns. I think it obviously has not, decreased their desire to see this thing get adjudicated. But I think at this point, 7 years in, I think they, like a lot of us, just are kind of used to these twists and turns at this point that it seems like are never going to get to the finish line.
Yeah, I can't imagine the delay, what it does for the families, what it does for the community who wants answers too. Allen's presence today and the overall story, as I mentioned earlier, it's gotten so much coverage and attention that the judge actually had to lay out that strict rule book for today with 12 different items. I was reading them last night. Most notably to me, I guess, was no cameras, no audio in the courtroom, for media or anybody attending. Has that been par for the course in following this case?
It has, actually. Obviously there were a few hearings in the last few months, when they went to the Indiana Supreme Court with Judge Gull and whether she was going to stay on the case. That was obviously televised. But yes, one of the characteristics of this case from day one has been everything has been kept under lock and key. Now, we obviously are getting into a point now, 7 years later, where things are starting to leak. But everything being under lock and key and being incredibly difficult to get information about, that has been one of the hallmarks of this case, whether it was the crime scene, whether it was the various hearings, whether it's, and all the way down to today, we're going to have to rely on the folks that are inside to really give us the details of what's happening. So, yes.
Yeah, well, I know you followed a lot of cases. I understand you were a producer for our own Ashley Banfield at one point, so I know you followed.
I was.
Yeah, Casey Anthony, O.J. Simpson. So I bet this one keeps you up at night.
It does. It's and it seems to be. I just hope that today's hearings can get us closer to when this trial's actually going to start. Because until it does, I think we're all just kind of just call me when it's going to start. Yeah,
well, we'll call you for sure. We'll have you back. I know a lot of people echo your same sentiments. Andrew Iden, a pleasure to have you on. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. Also, don't forget to click that red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.